Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play HOI4, the new order, don't surf. Let us continue on where we last left off. So, we're about to have a referendum in South Africa. I'm not too sure what the referendum is going to be on. After killing the motion of the National Party referendum on the there's a lot of stuff happening. The raid on WWII. They had seen the smoke first. They'd been pretty standard aerial patrol for the Brett Bridge garrison. The interior was always spent a few hours in chopper buzzing along the WWII River, looking for any smugglers who might be trying to cross into South Africa. Simple, it was then to be seen a column of black brewing from a patch of green near the abandoned WWII patrol post. The chopper touched down, a squad stepped out, staring at a gruesome sight. There's a humble, low-slung main house, made of stone and wood, accompanied by a couple of tiny shacks and pens of goats. Flames poured from the house. The shacks had been clearly picked over, and what goats had not been taken away lay bayoneted in the grass, along with the family. The remains lay in front of the house, the youngest son still clutching to his African Bible in his ruined arms. Settlers probably hard up times from Cruise Drop or Blorfine, Loam Feltian. My pronunciation sometimes just melts away. Just trying to make a new life in the lowland field. The corporal was almost surprised that there had not a covered wagon somewhere at the property. Along at the back of the house, painted in grayish red, was the name of their killers, Zanu-PF. One of the privates spat on the ground when he saw the letters, never saw them from so far south. Jerry must have chased them here. As the corporal examined the scene, he noticed that there was an awful lot of quality rifle ammunition used there from a bunch of backwater guerrillas to be toting around. Another private noticed the boot prints leading to the tree line. Curious, the corporal thought. He would have to put in a report. God save the Queen. Lose 5% sensibility. So I'm assuming some people are being set up. Probably from East Africa. Probably doing some sneaky things that, of course, we're not a fan of. We don't want them to have any pretext to invade our country. We did get infantry weapon improvement level 4. So what else do we want? We can make our anti-tank weapons better, but I don't believe we really have too much anti-tank. What actually is our division? Root crew and deploy. You have an engineering company, support artillery. Got a recon company here. We have recon company. So mostly recon and engineering. So 50% soft attack on engineers. Seems pretty good, seeing as all of our infantry brigades do have those already. So we're going to schedule a referendum. A plan for the future, 28 days. So, referendum on the monarchy. In the province of Cape, which contains 35% of voters, we estimate voters are somewhat supportive of the monarchy. We estimate in the province of Natal, which contains 10% of voters, we estimate voters are extremely supportive of the monarchy. The Orange Free State, 9% of voters extremely opposed, 44 somewhat opposed to the monarchy, and 2% of voters are somewhat neutral. So, of course, we want to win over Transvaal and Cape. Mixed support, high support. I mean, 59% is not too bad. Yeah, your Transvaal. We probably want to at least boost up Transvaal a little bit. But I think we want the referendum path. Like, I think we still want a monarch. We can also suppress votes, but we're just going to campaign within Transvaal here. Seems okay so far. I mean, do we actually have, we don't have a monarch right now. While South Africa is officially still a monarchy, in reality, the throne has remained empty since the death of King George VI. While the government has never recognized either Edward VIII or Elizabeth II out of desire to antagonize neither the OFN or the Unity Pact, the position of the monarchy has remained in limbo for nearly a decade. The referendum celebrations. Despite the great opposition put up by the Unity Party, Hetzau's party is coming out victorious. Now the street of Johannesburg. Have we already had has the referendum already passed? Yeah, they're now neutral. I guess that's an improvement. Where was I? Other great settlements for the public, exploring cheers from the Boers who came out to celebrate the calling of the referendum. The corners lit by street lamps and on those highways free of traffic. The white citizens of South Africa Those who could proudly call themselves the son and daughters of those who endured the Great Trek were for once free to show their joy at the victory over the Anglos and the Kafirs. Although such a referendum may have a chance of failure or of potential sabotage, is nothing to neglect. The Boers had done it, and their enemies would have to shake their heads, sigh, and retreat into their homes. After all, the victory was celebrated. The streets of South Africa, the home of the noble Boers, would witness questionable acts in the dark. We can have the police deal with them. And you know what? We need a lot of political power, so you know what? Just rough them up a little bit. The march against there's always forget. I forgot in this mod just how much reading there actually is. The march against imperialism. As Johann von Ludwig woke up in the morning slumber, he got off the bed, he gave himself a nice bath, and walked outside to start the usual routine of fawning over the newspaper for interesting tidbits, walking around to satisfy his daily exercise routine. His 60 years of life had been eventful, yet he had always felt there was something new to experience. He didn't realize something eventful would happen that day. After reading some local news, Johann heard thumping noises, loud and numerous, coming from the main road to the provisional government building. Such sounds piqued his interest, which led him far from the convoys of his house to a large gathering of about a few hundred people. He quickly planted himself among the onlookers who observed the occasion. He saw boards carried by many painted with these symbols depicting broken crown, inscribed on it, "Down with the Queen, long live the Republic." He heard the men and women chant violently, "The Unity Party is weak and frail. They cannot save us from the Germans nor the blacks. We, the National Party, are your only hope." The audience began to cry out in response, "Down with the monarchies, down with the tyrant, up with the Republic." Such rousing cheers from the audience displayed to Johann that he had found himself at one of the many rallies of the National Party, surrounded by crazy fanatics. He realized that his curiosity faded, replaced by growing disappointment. "Another one," said Johann. "They always stir up folks around here." He began to turn away and to return to his cozy abode when the crowd started to move behind the protesters, dragging Johann into a sea of white. I cannot imagine being happy anywhere else in the world but in Cape Town. So we're going to reduce support for the monarchy. Less than ideal. I mean, somewhat supportive, neutral. I mean, it's still, I think, a better situation than when we started. I don't think we want to suppress voters in Transvaal. I think we just want to win them over, somewhat. Mixed support, low support, low support. I'm not too sure why these ones are red. I guess these are just positive and these ones are negative. I don't know if this directly translates into 48% of these votes will go towards the monarchy, or 46% I should say, will go towards the monarchy, and then 54 against. That's what I would assume by default. I sound like no factories. Like 25 is not a lot. Like how many factories does Germany have? A lot more. United States, we have no idea. Still some border conflicts going on around in the north. Okay, plan for the future. Assuming we can't pick one of these yet. Oppose the ANC or talk with the ANC. So, like, what do we want to do? I don't think we want to maintain the status quo. I think we are probably going to go talk with the ANC. Which I believe is probably bring us much more in line with a war with the Germans. Weaken the radicals, get support. Maintain our neutrality, reassure the Americans and the Germans. Rebuff their diplomats, fortify just in case. We'll see what we can get. Choosing our strategy. Our party has to face the threats which rest within it if we want to win the referendum and keep this country free. We have two decisions to make, and not one of these will be easy. The only thing we can do is to accept what comes, whatever choice we make. We can consider supporting the ANC, including them gradually, as peacefully as we can, into our dominion by listening to them. This will certainly win the more moderate and considerate members of the Congress. And as a consequence, we shall invite their kin to see us in a more favorable light and their numerical majority for advantage at the referendum. This would be seen as reasonable and approachable. However, this will inevitably provoke the Boers, especially those who follow Herzog and cling to his promises of his party, and it won't be good. Otherwise, we can establish a confrontation opposition to the Congress and appeal to more conservative voters. This means concentrate police and possibly military action against them. Arrests and raids could be made, and this would allow us to try removing from our lands one threat from within and removing much of the National Party's appeal to law and order. This result may not be so good. We must anticipate the possibility of these people rising against us, turning to violence and pulling our nation down into anarchy. The only thing we can do about it is to be careful, yet we must be quick about what choice we make. There's little time for us to waste, for not only are we facing down the shadows that haunt our republic within, we also have to face the challenges of the Nazis in the north of our border as well. If we cannot meet these internal threats properly, we will fall easily into embrace of an unforgiving Reich. Cannot stand alone, we must sit down with the ANC. So we will talk to them. Hopefully, you know, this is the better idea. Get some more support for the monarchs. How many diamonds do we have right now? We have 20 diamonds. We could end pack trade at, we gain 5 diamonds, but I really don't think it's that great. 24%. They'll trade. Buy packed research. 1 off map. 2 bonuses to land doctrine. I don't know if that's that great. Can't do any of these because we're talking to the ANC. You know, let's do some development. Let's develop Cape. Do not develop Orange. We don't want them to get too powerful. I mean, I do know I did recruit Orange Militia. Like, I did fund their militias. Well, they probably should not have done. But I guess there's actually no other militias that I could see that I would be able to actually use. The collapse of Triumvirate. Though Italy's faction has broken apart, we do know that that was possible. We still don't... How much equipment do we have? We are still missing 624, but it will be resolved in a few months, so it's not too bad. Manpower is still kind of low. Is a shame. We mostly have infantry. So you know what? Let's get the defense. It's gonna take 130 days, but that should be okay. Operation not available until operative has built an intelligent network. They're just kind of hang out here. I just don't think this might just not work. And honestly, that's kind of okay with it not working. I assume like most of those little things would have just broken the mod. Talk with the ANC. You can maintain neutrality, which will give us an extra 2 diamonds per month. The packs will be less mad at us. We do get some fuel silos from the Americans. Reduce support for the monarchy. The fascists and the socialists will get slightly less popular. We get 5% stability. Let's just go for the 2 extra diamonds per month. Getting that early, I feel like, is going to be the best for us. Got the Progressive Party, Liberal Party. The war in the desert. Ever since the Second World War ended, Turkey has never been pleased with their share of the spoil. So I think this is a war between Turkey and Italy. I don't believe it works. Like, I don't believe it actually starts a war. That's okay. Opening bridges. Harry Oppenheimer knew that the most important organizational tasks were just a matter of getting the right people where they needed to go. And Oppenheimer was a master of organization. As he is with the head of the Beer's Consolidated Mines, his position made him king of the mining country in a country built on mining. And it wasn't a surprise that he was the richest man in South Africa. So he felt it was fitting when the South African government asked him to solve an organizational problem on their own. The reason he was approached was that among the many prolific contributions towards education in Jewish colleges, he has been supporting the African National Congress as well. His support for the ANC was tolerated because of his wealth and regular donations to the Unity Party. Now his friends in the Unity Party want to meet with his ANC friends, and Oppenheimer was the go-between. First, his home phone call with the ANC contacts, the government was willing to negotiate, he said, and they wanted to discuss some changes that would calm the ANC down. Would the ANC be interested, and would there be a possibility that the head of the ANC, Mr. Tabo, could be with the Prime Minister discuss this in person? The ANC contact promised to get an answer, and that he was called up in a few hours later, saying that yes, the ANC would be willing to talk. Oppenheimer called up the government next, and gave him the phone number so they could use to talk directly with the ANC. But then the ANC contact called Oppenheimer and told him that the negotiation had hit a snag, since Tambo was still technically wanted for violation of the banning order. There was concerns that he would be arrested at the meeting when he came out of hiding. Oppenheimer called up the GAF's office directly and informed them of the situation. A little while later, they gave him an assurance that if Mr. Tabo agreed to the meeting, they would revoke the banning order and let him avoid the charge. 25 political power. I would like to support... Is there anything I can do with 18 diamonds? I can buy more guns from the Pact. Yeah. I think that's okay. Buy a few more guns. And once we get up to 65, I'd like to get a little bit more votes in Transvaal. Because we're at 46. I don't know what the boost is here. Just says that it's raised. Which is kind of vague. Brazil has won the World Cup. Do you reduce support for the monarchy? Prominent members of the ANC. Deep believer of peaceful roads for freedom. Okay, so unsurprisingly, the Nazis are going to be a little bit upset if I release political prisoners. Rally their support. Efficiency grow plus 10%. It's not bad. We get a shorter work day. We'll increase support for the monarchy, which is what we do want to see. But we do need both, right? No, actually, you just need to sit down with Tabo for this one. But for you, I assume we need all three. Yeah, so we need to do all this eventually anyways. The fuel silos, 60... We have 60 days worth of fuel. So you're 28 days. We can at least meet with... We can at least meet with Tabo. And then... get some more fuel refineries from the Americans. Actually, can I just research one of those now? No, because it's way ahead of time. Don't think we need any helicopters. Naval Doctrine, again, doesn't, I think, matter too much. Do we have any bonuses for... recon? We could, yes, we could go for... You know what, just double researches into our engineers. We're going to have an extra research ready in 44 days anyway, which isn't too bad. How's the economy doing, by the way? I have noticed that we're getting poorer. Debt is increasing. We can spend more money on construction speed. War support goes up. We get a little bit more political power gain. We can make our army worse for 4 months. For 4 months, I don't believe we're going to be going into war in 4 months. So we'll slightly decrease military spending at the cost of raising civilian spending. So that should last until November. I think that's fine. November 6th. Yeah, November 4th. So it's a little bit later. But I do think we want the political power. 0.76. Stability is kind of bad. What's the Angry Fist? War support. Okay. We've got outlawed slavery. The 2-year draft people don't like very much. People also don't like that we're only... We had like an 80% poverty rate. Okay, that's also not ideal, I will admit. You sit down with Tabo. Let's immediately rally their support. But I do need oil. It's also used to deliver spy lines. Yeah, so oil is way more important. Who the hell are these guys? Yeah, like Italy's faction is kind of broken apart, but that's okay. Anyway, meeting with the leaders. In the rural village of Mahabharati, it is obviously a place where nothing of much importance seems to happen. Towards the southern end of the KwaZulu, and with the other 1,000 inhabitants, it was indistinguishable from many other African villages in the area. Then, one day, a small group of South African police showed up at the primary school and stood guard around the complex, accompanied by mining magnate Harry Oppenheimer. Some ANC members also have no manpower. I don't know when that happened. Some ANC members talked with Oppenheimer for a bit, and the sound of helicopter filled the air. 2 transport helicopters marked with the colors of the South African Air Force landed on the football field. Out came several plainclothes officers, a few staffers, and the Prime Minister de Villiers Graf. The ANC members were satisfied and left with the police officer. Leader of the ANC, Oliver Tambo, would later have to admit that he'd feel like this was a setup. Would later have to admit that he did feel like this was a setup, and it seemed to ridiculous that this would really be the talking place. But the surge of the other members of the ANC was that this was really happening to convince him. He left the safe house on the edge of the village and went to the school where he was allowed after a brief search for weaponry by the guarding police officer. The meeting between Tabo and Graf took place in a schoolroom with a desk formed to make a makeshift table. Several staffers for both sides were allowed in, as well as the Prime Minister's photographer to record the meeting. And Oppenheimer was the mediator. Negotiations were a bit awkward at first, as neither side really trusted the other and expected a sudden ambush. Eventually, it became clear that both really did want to talk, and things did go a lot more relaxed and calmer. As things got easier when Tabo and Graf decided they really did want some of the same things. By the time the meeting was over, substantial progress had been made. Graf knew that the ANC would be willing to reduce violent and disruptive activity in exchange for concessions. Tabo knew that the government was now willing to meet with them on things, which was a lot better than when they were totally ignored. In the end, the ANC and the United Party could lead something in common. Concrete alliance or a handshake and an agreement. Does this... I'm trying to think. Reduces support for the monarchy. You're now somewhat opposed to them again. You know what? Let's go. In for a penny, in for a pound, a concrete alliance. Now, nobody likes the monarch. But that's okay. We're going to rally to support anyways, and maybe this will give us some benefits. Right now, only Natal has high support, and it's only actually 64%, which is not perfect. You have very low support. 37, 39, 20%, 48. I still don't want to suppress voters. I think we do just want to continue to promote our cause. Is there any other bonuses here? The winds of change. You also reduce support for the monarchy. No matter what, people don't like the monarchy. Maybe actually you would. You increase the drafts. That actually seems terrible. It seems like a really bad idea. Yeah, to release political pleasures, we do need to support moderate ANC elements. Rally their support. Get a little bit more stability out of that. Okay, now you are supporting again. Up to 53. It's still not perfect. Because we are now gaining 0.77 political power. Still, like, 2.5 weeks until we can do another boost into Transvaal. That still is definitely, I think, the best thing we can do. The Verona conference has ended. Direction Italian Empire. I don't think anything Italy does matters at all. I think we can just safely ignore them forever. Because, like, we can't afford to train new troops right now. You have low stability, negative 17%. Like, Ostafrika is the closest to kind of just, like, falling apart, which is nice. I really don't like that we are just, we have, like, no natural resources in the country. And we're not really even being able to build anything. Why is our consumer good? 31%. 80% utilization, basic mechanization. Yeah, this kind of sucks. I mean, do we have a lot of, no, 4 dockyards. That's not probably providing a huge difference here. Let's reassure the Americans for a second. This might be able to get us something good. So you're not doing, we don't know what you're doing. But either way, we probably don't like it. Reinforce the Anglos. I think you have to kind of do everything here. I don't like the wolf with the glowing eyes and the SS logo above it. Probably is not a great sign. But I do think this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks everybody for watching. My name is Anthem. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. If not enjoy, you can always thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.